Hello everybody, and welcome back to Cask and Point. I hope you all are having a lovely day. Today we are going to be trying something brand new from the Heaven Hill Distillery. This is Old Fitzgerald 7, Bottled in Bond. So if you're not too familiar with the Old Fitzgerald series, they range between 8 and 19 years old, so they definitely got on the older end on some of them. And these are always going to be bottled in bond, so they're exactly 100 proof. All the grains were grown in the same season, and they didn't take any other cuts when making this kind of whiskey. So it's very high quality juice. It is meant to show respect to an Old Fitzgerald label that existed in the 50s and 60s and was really, really amazing. And that was always bottled in bond. So this is always bottled in bond. It's a modern thing. It started in about 2018. These decanters are absolutely gorgeous. Really some of the best looking bottles on the market. I don't own one, but hopefully I will someday soon. And we did a review actually on Old Fitzgerald recently. I had reviewed the VVS 13, which was last year's special release, against the 10-year and the 19-year, the 19-year being the oldest, and the results were pretty interesting. Definitely go check out that review if you haven't already. But today we're going to try something new, which is their 7-year. Now this 7-year is meant to sit on shelves everywhere at around $50, $60. It's meant to be much more easily accessible. It's really that line's real shelfer. Now, we obviously haven't had a shelfer yet from this line. The bottles MSRP are around $125 to $150, sometimes about $200 for the older ones, but these are going to be supposedly about 50 to 60 bucks, and it should be much more easily accessible. They're making a lot of them. They should really be everywhere. But we'll see. I'm a little bit suspicious of this ever really sitting on the shelf. I still think the bottle looks so cool, and since it's Old Fitz, you're just not going to find this very easily in the next few months. But hey, maybe you will. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is really like their Wild Turkey 8-year, the 70th anniversary that really was on a lot of shelves. Credit to Wild Turkey there. So we'll see. I still think the bottle looks pretty cool. It's obviously not the decanter series. I'll show it on your screen, but it's kind of a little bit altered. You see the top is kind of pretty similar too. So today we're going to try it. We're going to find out if it's actually any good, if it can really show any respect to that older, the 8-year, the 19-year, stuff like that, or if this is just totally off-brand, not really at all good, then there's a reason why it's a third the price and really should probably sit on shelves. So today here I have the 8-year Old Fitz. So this is the youngest Old Fitz in the decanter series. Very solid bottle. I believe this is a 2023 release, and then we'll try the 7-year. So I thought this was the best comparison we could do. This is the youngest Old Fitz at 8. Obviously this Old Fitz is 7, so only a year apart. Maybe they'll taste pretty similar. I obviously hope they taste really similar, but let's get right into it here and just see how good it really is. So, like I said, we're going to start with the 8-year here. This is the decanter series that we know and love. Super rich caramel on this. I also get a little bit of green apple on these Old Fitzes, and they could partially be because the label is green and really it reminds me of green apple. Now, I think there's like a really strong green apple on this, almost like a caramelized apple kind of thing going on. Definitely some oak in there, a good amount of vanilla, some caramel, some little bit of nutmeg, a little bit of cinnamon. Pretty solid pour here. Not particularly hot on the nose. I will say my review on Friday that I did record in the last few days had a lot of hazmats in it, so getting back to 100 proofer here is a little bit nice. Let's take a sip. Oh, that's solid. That's super good. Super rich on that one. You're really going to get a surprising amount of flavor for 100 proof. You're going to get a lot of vanilla on that. You're going to get that caramel. You're going to get that green apple on it. You're going to get a little bit of oak, not a lot of oak. I mean, this is 8 years old and 100 proof, so just statistically, not something that you would really expect to have a lot of oak. Definitely more than you think it has, but not really that much. It is good, though. A very, very solid pour here. I mean, I struggle to say that this is worth $200, $300. The cheapest Old Fitz in the decanter series, yeah, is going to be probably about $275, $300 on the secondary market. So I don't think it's worth that, but it's still really, really good. If you're a fan of lower proofers, you like that Old Fitz profile, I think generally staying with the younger ones is just the better call, because I don't think the older ones, like the 19-year, are really that much better. These are much cheaper. So just get this. I mean, you're paying $150 for a cool bottle anyways, so you might as well get the one that has the cheapest juice in it after that. The juice is pretty good too. I'll take a second sip here and let's go on to the 7-year. It's not super thick, but I will say, a good amount of vanilla, caramel. Definitely got more spice on that second sip. A lot of cinnamon on that. That's good. That's good. I mean, that's just a standard, very, very solid pour. I would rate that an 8.0 on the dot. I mean, it's just super solid, very, very good. I think that's a great weekly sipper level bottle. I think if the bottle was $150, I'd be pretty happy paying that. I think At $300, I struggle, but like I said, you're probably paying about 150 bucks for a cool bottle anyways. But let's see how good the $60 compares. Okay, on the nose here, it's pretty oaky actually, in comparison to the 8. Yeah, the 8 here is flashing a lot more of that green apple, the caramel, a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of oak. This one's actually a bit oakier, which is really interesting. A little bit of ethanol on this, which is a little bit unfortunate. So it actually does kind of smell like it's a little bit rougher on the edges in a way that the 8 definitely didn't. Yeah, I mean, if you could definitely pull out similar notes of the green apple, the caramel, the vanilla, but it's kind of an ethanol tinge on it that I don't absolutely love. And the oak structure on it is definitely a little bit worse. Like on the 8 year, it was a really sweet oak that was really nice and pleasant. I think this 7 year, slightly more tannic on the oak. But let's take a sip and find out. That's interesting. That's not bad. that is not that much worse than the 8 year. I will say it's definitely lighter. So even though it's exact same proof, I mean, it probably drinks like it's 10 proof lower. I think the Old Fitz's tend to drink a little bit higher in proof. I think that 8 year probably drinks 105, 110. This is definitely drinking like it's in the 90s. But it's pretty good. That's pretty good. Now I will say, I do think Larceny, obviously from the same brand, Heaven Hill, that's just cask strength wheated bourbon, much better deal than this. I think this is kind of a lower proof Larceny barrel proof. A very cool bottle on it. Getting more green apple on it than I would get on Larceny, but beyond that, I mean, you could pay $60 for a cask strength version of a bottle that's exactly as old as this. I mean, Larceny is between 6 and 8 years. This is 7 years. So just keep that in mind. Obviously, they're both wheated mash bills. So all of Old Fitz, they're all wheated. This is good. I think if you like the Old Fitz profile, I think for 60 bucks, I'm actually very happy with this. It's not that different from the 8 year, if I'm being honest. I mean, going back to the 8 year is definitely richer. It's definitely, it's a different level, but it's not that many levels ahead, you know? Like, this is going to rate somewhere probably in the mid-7s, which for 60 bucks, I mean, I think it's way more worth it just for the juice than I think any of the Old Fitz decanters are. But let's take a second sip here. Dude, I like that. Look, it's not super thick on the mouthfeel. I don't think you're going to get great viscosity on this. On the palate, it's definitely a little bit on the lighter end. It's definitely drinking like it's in the 90s proof. But honestly, the flavor profile is really similar to the 8 year. I'm really starting to get that green apple, the caramel on it. I'm definitely getting those kinds of wheated note vibes on it. Kind of caramel corn, vanilla on this. The oak, a little bit tannic. Not that tannic though. I mean, honestly, on the palate, it's really not a problem. And honestly, it kind of adds to the robustness of the flavor profile than it does really detracting from it at all. So I'm actually okay with the oak being a little bit tannic. Like, it kind of just adds an extra element in there. No, this is nice. I really like this for 50, 60 bucks. Obviously, I don't know if we'll actually be able to find this on the shelf, but man, this is really good. All right, well, let's take a third sip here and let's give it a rating. That's solid. That's solid. I'm happy with that. I honestly drink slightly older than 7 years because I think there's a good bit more oakiness on it than the 8 year. And, it's not better than the 8 year. Actually, I will go back to a quick sip here of the 8 year just to remind us of that. It's not better because the 8 year has a different level of richness on that sweetness. Like, you almost get a molasses on the 8 year in that vanilla. And I think vanilla, when it's really ramped up, pretty much turns into molasses. Pretty much turns into like a burnt brown sugar that's really nice. I'm not getting that on the 7. I'm getting a little bit of that on the 8. So let's take a quick sip here. It's more rich. It's better. It's not that much better. I'm going to rate the 7 year 7.7, which for 60 bucks, really worth it. That's a great bottle of whiskey. I'm really, really satisfied with this. Obviously, 0.3 below, that's a pretty decent difference. Like, if you're blinding these, it shouldn't actually be that difficult to tell which one is which. I think you could pick these out in a blind. I think there's a certain level of richness, sweetness on the 8 year that I think the 7 year is a little bit lacking on, but it's a relatively similar flavor profile. I think they knocked this out of the park. I think this is a really, really good release. I didn't know this release was dropping until about 2 weeks ago. Very happy I was able to get my hands on a sample of it to review it here with you guys. No, go out and buy this. If you like Old Fitz, you want a cheaper bottle, this is 100% a buy. But with that, I hope you all enjoyed the review. I'm in a great mood. I've had some really good Old Fitz today. Hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.